Ba-da-da-da.
Welcome to Podcast with a K,
Welcome.
episode number 4, I believe, where we
Big four.
talk about real stuff with a capital and a lowercase r. I am your host, Christian Mishka. It's Christian with a K. And this, my friends here, is another friend, Steven Laczko, co-host of this show. And we're going to be talking about real stuff to start it off. In fact, you can
Real stuff.
see right below us
Oh,
um, the new title. We're going to be talking about the
see right
real
there?
stuff and interplanetary society and life on Mars because it is coming, my friends.
Indeed
So,
it is.
Elon Musk is going to take us to Mars by 2030, I think, something like that.
That's his idea, I
That's his
believe.
idea. What do you think of that
I
concept?
think I'm excited. This is if I know this great YouTube channel and his tagline is "What a time to be alive."
Yes.
and man, it what a time to be alive. I mean, this is unlike any other time in all of human history, really. And I guess there's been a couple of those sorts of times, big technological advances, but this is a big one.
True.
Seriously.
It
I mean,
is.
getting to the moon is cool, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. Another planet is a whole different deal.
And another planet is a whole different deal. Like as a person, like we've sent robots and drones out there. Like drones probably not
Right.
the right word, but um,
This is a drone, it's a helicopter.
yeah, fair enough. Actually, yeah, the latest Mars rover did have like a helicopter thing that took footage, which was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and now we're going to be sending people.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of difficulties with going to Mars.
Hmm.
That's not an easy task. And so when you want to go to Mars, you have to have some time scheduled. You have to have some time set aside. What is it?
Absolutely.
6 months minimum to get there?
I thought it.
Something like
I
that?
think it's 3. I could be wrong. It's been a while.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But there's like a window where the Earth is catching up to Mars because the Earth passes around it quicker.
Mm-hmm.
That you can time it right, and I don't know the numbers on it, but it happens every so often, every couple years, I think.
Mm.
Or no, well, duh. If you're going around, if you're going around the sun in a year, it's gonna happen once a year.
This is true.
Yes. Okay. It's just going to shift because Mars is moving at a different speed. So once a year, you have a window of a. I think the window is a 6 month period that you can
Mm.
actually send things out to orbit, but it takes 3 months to get there. I think that's what it is. And then when you're closest to Mars, it's actually. Oh man, I used to know the numbers because I read the Martian book,
Mm-hmm.
but I believe it was a 15-minute delay in communications. Um, and that was at the shortest or at the longest? No, I think it was the shortest. So there's like that kind of interesting aspect where it's like if that's your information capacity, then communicating between Mars and here is kind of difficult, especially if like an emergency occurs. So
Mm-hmm.
being self-sufficient is important.
Right. So sending enough people that they can work together and, if somebody's in a difficult situation, there's somebody else to help them out.
Hmm.
That's very important.
Yeah.
It's not really things we tend to the only places we tend to deal with that kind of an issue is in like small spaces like okay there's going to be 4 people working in this area and it's kind of dangerous so we need to have them properly trained
Hmm.
but no these guys are going to another planet literally it sounds like a joke um, and so I think they're going to have a lot of challenges that they haven't had before obviously but
Yep.
like specialized training um, like holistic specialized training like they're going to have to learn how to live before they even go there they're going to have to relearn life itself so the people who go there, the first people who go there, like
Indeed.
hats off to you. That's
Literally going into an environment that kills you if you don't have life support,
yeah.
right? Like,
It's almost like a scuba diver, but they don't have to go that far. It's not as far,
yeah, and it's not like you can just rise to the surface and be okay.
right? So, what do you think they're going to miss most being on Mars?
That's a good question. I imagine from Well, I mean, the first thing that came into my brain was like the green grass and the blue skies and the kind of the environment.
Yeah.
Like I wonder how much of an effect that has on someone psychologically, just going into like this kind of duller atmospheric environment with much harsher sunlight.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably the least of the concerns, though. That's like an aesthetic concern. But I imagine they would miss that a lot. Of course, if they're bringing virtual reality with them, they can just experience it whenever they want.
That's a good point. Honestly, that's a good point. Because that's actually, I mean, that's serious. Like, I feel like one of the most, I don't know if it'll be the most challenging thing, but a big challenge will be mental health
Hmm.
on another planet. Completely new whole set of problems to tackle there. Like, I know that, like, blue and green, especially green, causes us to feel calm because trees and grass, and we like green just like biologically. And so to not be able to walk outside and see green ever is going to be weird.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's a really good point that VR could be a actual solution to that.
Yeah, that like I imagine that VR almost becomes like a therapy session in that environment. Because I think I don't know all the schematics for like how buildings are going to be structured and stuff, but I imagine a lot of them are going to be underground, and then the greenhouses would be on the surface. Um, I think that's what I've seen in diagrams and stuff before. So it's like you're going to have artificial light in your living quarters and stuff. It's not going to be natural. Um,
And even if you went outside, it's not going to be the same.
yeah, it's definitely not going to be the same. So yeah, like, but there's other aspects to like the mental health concern because, like you mentioned, all the first people who go here are going to be highly qualified people, and we hope that I don't know what kind of training is going on, but I imagine that a lot of training is going on in the kind of psychology department,
For
making sure
sure.
that those people are on hand and able to deal with those kinds of scenarios that just like the isolation aspect, you know. Um, because yeah, I mean, you're gonna have a lot of smart people over there, and they interface with society in a different way than your average Joe. So it's gonna be a different thing, totally
It
different thing.
is. Agreed. Now, here's the thing I would be worried about. Internet.
Well, there's going to be a Mars net, I imagine. So that would be high speed,
Oh,
but
right.
and then maybe okay, this is just some speculation here. We're going to have like maybe like a monthly dump or a weekly dump where it's like we try to transfer all of the hottest topics from the main internet to the Mars net. Or it's kind of like a caching system where it's like it's the information is going from Earth to Mars, and then it's just cached whenever it's brought to Mars in that 15-minute time. It's just
Yeah, it's just
cached.
saved there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I
Um,
mean, like, seriously, man, I can't watch my VTubers on Mars, I don't think. Like, this is a nightmare.
no
I don't know.
streams. Yeah.
No streams? Didn't the Martian have. Didn't he stream back to Earth?
I
I
mean,
thought that was the thing. Hey, Ryora. Somebody in chat is
yes.
talking to us. We do have overlays now. Thanks. Uh,
Yeah. I mean, you in The Martian, he streamed there. I mean, he streamed, but I don't know if he streamed. And if he did, it was there was going to be that like 15-minute latency. So it's like
yeah.
I don't know what you're gonna get. And then like that might work if there's a couple people on Mars, but once the society starts building up, I don't know what kind of bandwidths you can get out of that.
Right, yeah. Going back and forth between planets, the bandwidth's not going to be great, which is very interesting. Okay, I just had a thought.
Hmm.
Societies are going to be different on Earth and on
Oh
Mars.
yeah, they're gonna become
It's
more and more apart, I imagine, over time,
yeah,
which
they're
is
going to
kind of scary.
diverge.
Yeah.
It is kind of scary. Separate entire planets. Yeah. How did nations work on Mars?
Also a good question because it's all uninhabited land, right? So it's like it's no one's territory yet.
Right.
So are different nations from Earth gonna like claim land? Like they're gonna put a plot of land down? It's like I think back in older times when colonization was happening. It's like you plot out your land, and if you cultivate it and put growth on it, like plants and stuff, for 2 years, then it becomes yours. So I wonder if there's going to be a similar kind of thing, but I don't know if you can really do that if it's not like a place where you can just cultivate plants and build stuff.
It's also not a place you can just go to. Like,
Yeah.
people aren't going to just go there,
Mm-hmm.
like random Joes, for a long time.
Right.
So it's going to be a bunch of scientists and astronauts and professionals living there. And basically, it's going to be a science excursion.
Yeah.
For the most part. And it's... Will we have civilians there? And how long do you think it's going to take if we will?
Civilians. I mean, so there's one question of, are you talking about people from Earth coming to Mars, or are you talking about the people growing up in that culture? Because there's going to be first generation Martians, right?
Oh, jeez.
And those are probably, I don't know if you can assume that all of those people are going to take on the scientific roles. I don't think that's fair. So there's going to be people who take on different kinds of roles, and maybe there is going to be an initial demand for the first generation Martian, which is a weird phrase to say.
I think it's going to be like NASA's going to like outlaw that for a long time, because they don't want to have to feed more mouths. Like, it's expensive. It's probably very expensive to feed one mouth.
True.
Depending on how they're making or bringing food.
Mm-hmm.
So like that doesn't seem wise, at least for a while, until we have maybe a couple round trips and we start getting a framework down.
Yeah, I don't think that would be a focus until it was sustainable.
Yeah, exactly.
Or I don't know if there's some sort of if it's outlawed.
Yeah, well, just
I mean, if everyone's there for business, then it's business. But you'd hope that they'd have free time, right?
Yeah.
Like they'd need it.
Right. And then you gotta have rules, man.
Yeah.
People gotta get lonely.
True.
It is what it is. They got rules on the ISS and stuff.
Yeah.
Pretty sure. So, So there's, again, another problem humanity almost never needs to deal with.
Yeah.
So, traveling to Mars.
Mm-hmm.
That's far. So again, how long do you think it's going to take before we get our opportunity to go to Mars, Christian? And Ryora in the chat gets to go to Mars. He wants to go to Mars, and he wants to sit there and bring out his tablet, his transparent tablet, his Apple i1000, and watch the astronauts land on the sun.
Right.
When are we going to be able to do that in our leisurely home on Mars?
True. That's a good question. I don't know.
What's your educated guess?
My educated guess for when an average person can go to Mars from Earth?
Mm-hmm.
Oof. I would be. I feel like it would be optimistic to say that would happen in our lifetime.
That's fair.
But it might be something that we see before our deathbed.
I think that's fair. It's going to be something they talk about.
Yeah. Now,
least,
yeah. Of course, I would imagine that like there would be very high-end trips to Mars and back before the average Joe is able to go to Mars. So, rich people who just want to like say that they've gone to Mars and put foot on the ground and have a ferry back.
Or they buy like a 1-inch plot of land on Mars, and they go and like stick a tiny little shovel in it to like
get a little toothpick flag.
Yeah.
Although the winds on Mars are pretty harsh, so it wouldn't stay. Android tablets only.
Yeah.
Oof. It's not going to be all clear anymore then.
It's true. It's too expensive for Android usually.
Yeah.
Well, it's coming.
It is coming.
It's actually coming. And I've said this many times on the podcast, but we are living in a science fiction novel. We're living in the future. And, something very interesting is I saw a clip of why Elon Musk wanted to go to Mars.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why he was pushing for it so hard. And he said in his idiolect in his interesting way of speaking. There's going to be a World War III eventually, is what he said. Maybe he's not like forecasting it. It's not saying it's coming soon. Not about to die. But it's coming eventually, probably. And so, just in case, in the next 100,000 years, next 500 years, whatever, we end up nuking ourselves and, like, civilization starts, like, basically we visit a new dark age, is what he said. We want to have civilization elsewhere that can help us get back on our feet quicker. Because if you remember, the Dark Ages lasted way too long. I think it lasted a really long time. Like over 1,000 years, right?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure like the actual time frame is really long. So we want to make sure we don't have to go through that for that long. That was his idea, which is interesting. He's a very big thinker, clearly.
Yeah.
Very long-term thinker. So basically, we're sending people to Mars now in order to build up an infrastructure there, in order to have a seed that they can throw back to Earth. Like, here's our seed of civilization. Get back to what you're doing.
Yeah.
Here's what life used to be like, you know? Maybe they can back up the internet. And
Back
send
up.
a guy to us.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Humanity backup.
Yeah, back up of humanity. It's that Cave Johnson project.
Yeah.
Well,
There's
I'm not
one-
ready to go to Mars, personally.
I wouldn't want to do that. No, not anytime soon. There's like the people who go there are permanently, right? And that's going to be the first people who go there are going to be there permanently.
Probably. I mean, maybe eventually they can come back.
Yeah, maybe. But they're going there with the thought in mind that it could be permanent.
Yeah.
And it's like your communication with everyone you know on Earth is not going to be the same.
They better be careful of hiring psychopaths.
I'm pretty sure they're being careful about that.
I mean, okay, I'm probably going to offend somebody here. But you're going to another planet, potentially never coming back, with just a couple people, and they're your coworkers.
Yeah.
How many people want to do that? How many people are okay with that?
People who care about science and humanity.
More than their own...
Self-sacrificing people. Yep.
Yeah. Good for them. I'm not one of them. I do not claim to be. But, you know, I'm glad they exist.
Yeah.
I am. They push humanity forward in a way as I refuse to.
True.
Right, or the minute we go to Mars, the closer we are to the Halo timeline, the most important timeline. Nice. Yeah, I want a, what are they called? I mean, it's called a Halo, but I thought there's also a Geiger sphere or something?
Oh, is that the one that goes around the sun?
Yeah.
And it like redirects the light so you can collect it? Yeah.
Yes, the spherical sun-powered Dyson sphere.
Dyson sphere.
So
That's...
disk is different, but
yeah. That's when you... So we're talking Earth, Mars, right? Interplanetary society between planets.
right.
Once you harness the power of the sun, then that's basically the next step. Because right now we've got the power of our Earth, and we're not even fully harnessing it. And then we've got the power of Mars, and we're not even going to be fully there. And then we've got the power of the thing that's supplying our solar system, which would be the sun. And I feel there's some interesting Kurzgesagt videos that go over like the Dyson sphere and like terraforming and stuff. But
Did you just pronounce that correctly?
I did.
Wow.
Wow, it's almost like I took German.
I've never heard it pronounced correctly. Can you say that one more time?
It's Kurzgesagt.
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 Yes.
Kurzgesagt. Every time you come to this podcast, you learn something new.
True.
Every Monday at night, at some point, 9 or 10.
Ish. Yep.
Ish. Ryora, the only... I shouldn't say that. Wait, the minute we can go to Mars, the closer to Stellaris LARP we can get.
True. We are one step closer.
That's amazing. The Intergalactic Confederation of Memes shall become no longer a meme. Don't let your memes be dreams, friends.
This is true.
Mars could be the planet of memes. It's alliteration.
It is alliteration.
Memes of Mars. Memes of Mars. Memes from Mars.
The Martian memes.
They are going to make memes from Mars.
There's going to
We'll
be
have our first
a news website
Martian
called
memes.
The Martian Memes.
That's good. It'd be like the new Onion.
Yeah.
I like it. Okay. I think that's what takeaways. What are we most excited about? I'm most excited about Martian memes. 100%. They're going to be so unique.
I don't think we're going to understand them. Like, we're going to...
They're going to be like when the turbulator becomes bent at a 90-degree angle and you can't get your drinking water.
Oof.
See, you don't get it. It's
Nope.
It's way ahead of your time.
It dies hard, man.
The catalytic cracking unit is charred and it's 90 feet up in the air, and you do like a crying emoji and like the sobbing emoji. Yeah, classics. It's gonna be the new classics.
Yep, and then there will be the memes about the difference in the days, because I think there's a difference in the days.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. What?
It's like 27 hours? No, is it less? It's like 22.
As long as a Martian day. Oh, it's almost exactly a day. It's a day and 37 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, that lines up better. But it's probably offset.
Oh, probably.
The years are going to be different. There's a different number of days in a year.
Well, here's the thing, is that even though it's offset, it will eventually sync up and then desync. So at times you'll be awake. At different points, people are awake on Earth. So, like, at certain times, China and Japan are awake right now. We get to see what they're doing. And then other times, the English.
Oh, that's bizarre.
Yeah.
Your 15-minute delay with your internet connection, and you're like, oh, hey, different.
There's a lot of Japanese in our chat right now on our Mars stream.
Yeah, it's like, what month is it? It's the the Martian month of syncing with Japan or syncing with the USA.
Oh yeah, they could name them after.
Yeah.
I don't know how well that would work. Years are very different. 600. Okay, it's about twice. It's about 2 years per Martian year.
Okay.
687 days.
Interesting.
It'll be a little different.
I wonder how you'd measure ages and stuff. Like my Earth years.
Wow.
Oh, I guess there'd become a more normalized form of measuring your age, as in like Earth years versus Martian years.
Yeah, and eventually, they'll probably know both.
Yeah, probably. But like when you're
like you'll convert. You'll just like open up Google.
Do you think it would be
That's
default?
Mars Google.
Do you think it would? Google.
And you'll look up like Earth Day is like 7 Mars years and Earth days, please. Earth years.
Yeah, but do you think like the default? I mean, I imagine the default for talking about time and years and age would be Earth, our current way, because we're going there. But I wonder if the growing up generations would be like, would they just default to Earth and then just talk about the Mars years, or would they be more like, no, it's our culture, it's our thing. We are this many Martian years.
So, but that's a good question. They might get assertive about it eventually, which is interesting. But that's how cultures change. Is that they're going to start off with Earth years, 100%.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But after we have second, third, fourth generation Martians, culture is going to shift eventually. And we don't know. We can't predict in what ways, but like that could definitely be a shift. That they shift to Martian years and Martian time.
Yeah.
It's going to be weird.
Also, are they going to use metric or imperial?
Oh, metric. Please.
I know,
get away from imperial as soon as possible.
Maybe they'll be the driving factor of the United States finally changing.
They tried once, I think, but
they
failed. Our dollars are in a base 10 system.
Yeah. I'd imagine if it was $12 has its own. 5,280. Well, miles. Oh yeah, miles.
Miles are dumb.
They
No
sure
one,
are.
they're going to use metric. I've declared it. If they don't, I don't know. I'm going to complain. That's what'll happen.
These Martians aren't using metric. Doesn't alliterate. Doesn't alliterate. I must have all Martian alliteration.
Exactly, Martian metric. Oh my god.
The Martian metric memes.
Martian metric memes. I'm looking forward to. All right, that's on my schedule. I'm gonna ask Musk.
We've
metric Musk memes.
We've already found the meme culture of Mars. It's just M.
We started it, right? Ladies and gentlemen, here's where it starts.
If you are on Mars and you are watching this episode,
yeah.
Tell everyone about these memes.
Make Moogle real.
Also, we appreciate you because
we do.
We don't know who you are.
I would never, ever willingly be in your situation. So
yeah,
thank you.
Thank you
for advancing humanity. It's very cool.
I was here. Ryora was here.
He was here. We're here.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
In the now, not in the future. Not when these bodies are gone, but our videos live on.
This is true. I hope these are like the first things sent over to Mars Internet. To their internet cache.
We'll make sure of it.
They'll be like, what are the most important things that need to be sent to Mars Internet first? And we'll link this like 100,000 times. We'll set up some bots.
Yes. I'm from the void, unfortunately. Mars is like our rival. We have
You're from the void, huh? I've never heard of the void. Is that like the X planet? In the asteroid belt?
Planet X. Oh yeah.
Planet X. That's fascinating. Maybe there will be void memes then.
Void memes.
There already are if you've gotten into Boneworks lore. Oh, sorry, that's a very niche reference. I'll stop.
Okay. It's okay. It's okay, Steven.
Rogue, you were here.
He was here.
We just discovered Martian memes.
Martian metric memes.
Martian metric Musk memes.
Yes, right. Gotta add the Musk.
You can Google Martian metric you can Moogle Martian metric Musk memes on Martian MiFi. Of course.
Yeah.
The void doesn't exist, and Mars competes with us by being the closest to void while still actually existing. I see.
Interesting.
Competing with in existence. Well, friends, we have an overlay, and I want to show it off, even though we're working on it. It's a work in progress. Revision 1.
Yes. Shall we transition?
I think we should transition to our next segment, which is
Late Night Sock Talk, where
otherwise
we talk
known
about
as lowercase
r real talk. We're here.
Very exciting. We're here.
We did it.
I didn't even see it happen. It was so smooth.
Oh my goodness.
I didn't even see it happen. I hope you guys appreciate the Comic Sans. We felt it was a very important addition to this segment.
It is very important.
How important is it, Christian?
It is basically life or death important because Comic Sans fuels Late Night Sock Talk. Like, you don't even understand. They are the core sponsor of Late Night Sock Talk. And you didn't even know that they were an organization before today.
They are. They're paying us the big bucks.
They really are.
For this.
Yep.
So, shout out to Comic Sans. And Jerry over there, he's a good friend. He's our contact. He's a really good guy. He got us connected, and he's been a real treat. So shout out to Comic Sans.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys need a sponsorship for something like a podcast stream, they are really good. They really help you out, and all they want is for you to use Comic Sans in your stream.
Yeah, so. and maybe shout out one or two of their extra products, which are what are the products that they're starting to create?
Right,
now?
Sure. Well, they're selling their own type of pencil that's made out of bone.
Right.
Made out of bone and cartilage. It's like made out of flesh.
Yes.
That's the first thing. Now that's a little off-brand.
It looks kind of like this.
Yeah, very much like that.
Yeah.
But inside, yeah, it's not. It's not lead. It's not black. Yeah.
Maybe like a dark red, kind of
Like a dark
irony
red.
color.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it might smell
Some
like iron
pink.
too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's the idea. It's actually a scented pencil. That's how they're marketing it.
right.
Um, it writes really well.
Oh, it does.
I'll say that writes really well. So check it out. But yeah, they do have one other product, which I know you've really enjoyed so far. They've sent us these. So Christian, yeah, tell us about it.
Well, I mean, the pencil's pretty great, right?
Mm.
You can use it every day. But I think their other product is actually much more useful, and I have it right here with me. It is a mushroom that is not made out of organic material. It is an inorganic mushroom,
Oh.
and it
Mm-hmm,
can
mm-hmm. Right.
actually um, it gives you aromatics
Oh
at the push of a
wow.
button, and it just makes you feel like the world is one with you.
Mine's over here. I smell it from here. It smells great. Dude, it's so good.
It's
Actually,
they don't
yeah.
even have a name for it. It's like it is called, and that's how you refer to it.
Mm-hmm. That I mean, we've been referring to it.
Yeah.
I, I mean, maybe they didn't
We
know,
can't stop
but
talking about it,
yeah,
basically.
it's
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 everything that
changed
we're
my
not
life.
talking about, basically.
Right. And I mean, I'd never talk about it. You know, I love it so much. I'd never talk about it. I really enjoy not talking about it. You know,
Yeah.
it's it's changed my life for the better, for sure. It's changed my perspective on life. I think I went through a sort of ego death the first time I used it,
Mm-hmm.
where I just forgot. You know, it's like I forgot that I was even me. You know, like I wasn't even me. I'm just a person,
Yeah.
but I just happened to be observing this one person who is Steven.
They do give a
So
disclaimer on the packaging that says you might have some existential questions after
mhm.
doing it the first time, and but
Well,
some people react to it a bit differently. So they say to meet with the psychologist first.
yes, and make sure to meet with your family as well before you try it, just in
Yeah.
case it's the last time you see them. So Christian, what was the biggest question you got out of trying the?
Um, People might be disappointed, but the biggest question, like the first question I had is, what is pizza? And I
Mm,
just couldn't
mm,
stop thinking. Like it echoed in my mind so much that the word pizza didn't even mean anything. It was almost like
oh,
pizza was the definition of the universe. And
wow.
I started seeing like when I the first time it was just like I was zooming in and then I was standing on a giant piece of pepperoni as if that was like a football field and I was looking up to the mushrooms and those were the trees and then I looked over to there was some broccoli on this one. I don't know why, but the broccoli wasn't actually a tree. It was a building in the shape of a building, like the block cut
Oh,
broccoli. And I just remember looking up and why is pizza? What is pizza? Why does it exist?
that is freaking poetic, man.
Yeah.
That's intense. Yeah, and where does pizza come from?
They think people conspire about the mothers make it, companies make it, but I don't think that's true.
If you know us, we you would know that we don't believe companies make pizza.
No, they actually they get it from other places.
Hmm. Namely, Comic Sans Incorporated.
Yes. Comic
I
Sans.
to keep this on the down low,
Mhm.
hush hush. But I'm pretty sure Comic Sans is the one who actually dishes out all the pizza in the world. They're the ones they're where it all comes from. There has to be a source, and we've just determined that Comic Sans is such a powerful entity. They're probably the only thing capable of creating pizza. Like just pizza in general. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
It's almost like they cracked the code of the universe and figured out the
Mm.
only way to create or destroy matter was by creating pizza. That's the only substance that can be created or destroyed. I think it's like uh, Sands' fourth law of physics.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Yeah. Also known as Twilight's second law of thermodynamics.
right.
They're complementary.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so this is actually a powerful truth, and I know we're kind of getting off on a tangent here, and I do want to come back to trains and their applications in space, but just to keep going off on this tangent here for just
Hmm.
a moment. Um,
Maybe even the secant too.
Perhaps okay. So I prefer the sign.
Okay.
I prefer the sign. Secant's cool. Tangent is actually a little higher than me. Sign is best, but in this case, I think tangent fits best.
Right. Yeah.
I prefer sign over all. It just speaks to me on a personal level. Like I was visited by a sine wave when I was a child.
Oh, is
Yeah.
that what the mushrooms told you about
Well,
or
that's
reminded
the
you
vision
about?
I got. That's the vision I got.
Oh,
Yeah. It visited me and it passed through my soul, and I saw my soul for a moment, and it waved in and out of my body, and then I started wiggling back and forth vigorously, hundreds of revolutions per second. I almost died, but when I came to, I was I could see colors, I could smell feelings, and I met you. That's how we met, I think. Right?
oh,
I think that's when you met me. I was on the ground
yeah.
and I was just waking up out of my coma, out in a field.
Mm-hmm.
You walked over to me. Oh, and it just brings it full circle. What were you carrying in your hands?
I think we had the same thing.
Pizza.
Pizza. It's almost like they knew.
I think Comic Sans has planned a lot of things out.
Hmm. Makes
You
you
know, you
wonder.
know when people they search for meaning in everything, right? Like, no offense. I mean, it's true. People search for meaning in religion. There are lots of religions. It's generally true. They search for meaning in what they do in children, in relationships. I think Comic Sans has figured it out. I think when we're looking for meaning, what we're looking for is the Comic Sans executives.
Hmm.
I think so.
And they're always watching us.
Always. Mm-hmm. That's comforting to me. Knowing that Jerry is watching me sleep, watching me breathe, watching me eat pizza, that's comforting to me.
It's so great.
His big blue eyes watching over me. Jerry's such a nice guy.
Oh, he's such a nice guy.
So cool. So, we've talked a lot about pizza.
We sure have.
The next thing I want to talk about is whether or not we're going to join Comic Sans.
Oh, because right now we're just a subsidiary
Right. Now
or
we're
an
just
offshoot.
sponsored. We're
Yeah, just
sponsored right now.
sponsored. Right. Okay. I think I
But
already got the email about subsidiary.
partnership.
Yeah, partnership. We need to. I think we need to query our audience and make sure that they're okay with it.
That's a good
Um,
idea because it does bring big changes to us personally and to our podcast. Why don't you tell us one of those
so
changes?
first of all, they're going to regulate that all text on screen is in Comic Sans. So your shirt and my shirt would both be a no-go, or they'd have to refund us to get new shirts that look the same but are supported in their font. Also, any logo that contains food or any food on stream now must be pizza. Um, so or mushrooms. Those are the two
Mm-hmm.
things. So that basically restricts those kinds of things. I don't know what their sponsored drink is, but maybe you could remind me. And then the one other change that they were gonna do. I think they
Yeah,
messaged you
absolutely.
about it. Yeah.
It's high fizz. It's called high fizz. It glows a little.
Hmm.
It's actually it's a can, but it's clear. and you pop it open, and it kind of fills your room with a certain smell that really penetrates the mind and soul. I think that's the best way I can describe it.
Mm-hmm.
I've drunken it before. I wouldn't drink it again, but I would recommend it to everyone.
Right, to drink once, right?
Just drink it once, experience it once. It's very powerful.
And that's all that Comic Sans needs. So, oh wait.
So another change that would arise because of Comic Sans is our consciousnesses would actually be elevated. Once we join Comic Sans and we're incorporated into their body, literally and metaphorically, our consciousnesses would be altered. Now, you would get similar content, of course.
Right.
And it would appear basically the same. There'd be minor changes. Perhaps the CG wouldn't be good enough, and it might be. We might look, not quite the same.
Right.
But our personalities would change a little bit in that when we would say we're doing a real talk, capital R real talk, we might give away some secrets that no mortal should know.
Right.
We might do that. We need to be careful because we could get into a lawsuit if we do that.
Yeah, there might be some sort of contract about joining the conscience experience that will change the content that we can provide physically and realistically.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and mentally.
And mentally.
Pure mental capacity.
Yeah, emotionally is off the table because the conscious doesn't really care about that aspect.
It doesn't have emotion, though.
Right. That might actually be the one thing that remains with us in our physical form, but our thoughts wouldn't interact with it in the same way.
Yeah, so our bodies would be here doing the podcast and utilizing their own emotions for us, but we would be puppeting those corpses from the haven of the Comic Sans hive mind.
Yes. Yep. I think you summed it up pretty well.
Cool. So what do you guys think, chat? Does that sound good to you? We're thinking of taking this offer. Not sure yet. You don't have to freak out if you don't like it, but I think it's a pretty good deal. Sponsorship is great, but being incorporated into the haven of the Comic Sans hive mind, one step better, I think.
Yeah, and I think I heard that we could once a month invite one of our subscribers, so that's a pretty good opportunity right there.
It is. So hey, if you ever wanted to get into the hive mind, this is a great opportunity for you.
Or if you wanted to get in one of our minds.
Oh, you lewd chat.
They wouldn't do that.
They wouldn't do that. I hope not. Well.
Okay.
So we were talking about fonts, right? That was just...
Yeah, that was just fonts. I think... were you smelling something then? I don't smell it anymore.
I know, it's gone.
Yeah.
What did it even... I can't remember what it actually smells like. It's kind of like Turkish coffee. When every time you drink it, after you drink it, you forget what it tastes like again.
Yeah.
It's like I forgot the smell already.
Interesting.
Well, anyway, Comic Sans is cool.
It is cool. It's right there.
It is. We got it. Show some love.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're on to our next segment.
Wow.
Yeah, we have an overlay for this one, too.
Are you ready? You want to give the cue?
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Whoa.
Oh my gosh! It's beautiful.
It's amazing.
It sums it up perfectly.
It does. It's exactly what you think it is. It says it right there. It says it.
Right. It's obvious. Yeah. You guys should read it to us, actually, just to make sure you're watching.
Yeah. Just to make sure. If you're watching after the fact, just make sure to leave a comment.
Yeah.
Just exactly what you see right there. Okay. Just so we can understand that our vision is being transmitted into your minds.
Exactly.
Yes.
And hey, if you want to just sum it up, take the essence of it, I like those kind of summaries of thoughts, because we want to take ideas from you guys, maybe do some podcasts on those.
True.
So throw out some ideas. We left the concept a little intentionally vague, but I think the basics are there.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. Well, Christian.
Steven.
It's been 2 weeks.
It has. And I've forgotten who went first last time.
I think you.
I think you might be right. Yeah. In that case, Steven.
What?
I have a very important question for you. It means a lot to me that you answer this very genuinely. What is your world?
What is my world? Oh my gosh. Let me check. Of course. My world lives on a cylinder.
Yeah?
Every person on this cylinder is a ring. And so they go up and down this long cylinder, and they in order to get over each other, they have to expand and then contract and keep going. And these aren't normal. These aren't humans. Let's say they are conscious, but it's a limited kind of consciousness. They have jobs, and these jobs are what they are really. Like some of them are rushing to get supplies from one end of the cylinder. They're digging into the cylinder and extracting pieces out, and they're running down to miles down the other end of the cylinder to insert it into another part of the cylinder. Others are trying to build more cylinder. They're sacrificing lesser rings to build the cylinder and continue its journey upward into the Herz sphere. So the cylinder, kind of what we're looking at is in the Nemosphere, and that's the very normal section of the cylinder. It's temperature. Well, there's no temperature in this world because things aren't made out of atoms. They're just like almost like Plato's ideals, like conceptual solids. They're like atomic structures, like it's a ring. It is what it is. There's nothing making it up. So there's no temperature. But this is the most normal area. Like this is, white light. Things look like metal. But the further you go in one direction down the cylinder, the more things become granulated. And that doesn't mean they're made out of atoms or anything, but it means the rings literally like you take a solid ring and then like apply like a polka dot filter to the whole thing. And like it's 3D dots and each dot is slowly getting like smaller as they reach out into this horror sphere.
I see.
And so they're trying to build the cylinder because the cylinder gives them a foundation, a basis on which to retain their existence. So the closer they get to the end of the cylinder, the smaller those little granules become and the bigger the empty space between each granule becomes. And if they pop off the cylinder, they'll be non-existent. It's a very uncomfortable situation to be turned into grains of sand, basically, as they go onto the end of the cylinder. So they build the end of the cylinder, sacrificing themselves in order to extend it into the horror sphere. On the other end, of course, is an entirely different world where things, as they lower down the cylinder, things flatten. They shrink in a 2D manner, and so the farther they go down at a certain point, the rings actually just become discs. They become 2D discs, and that's if you were to go infinitely far.
Right.
But they gradually get thinner and thinner. And they can use this to occasionally slip through little breaks in the cylinder. And they go, boop, and they pop off the cylinder, and they fall. And this is an act of seppuku, is what it's called. They fall into an abyss. And what happens there is they mate with the creator. The creator is a large 4D hyper ring. And they can only see a segment of it, of course. This is a 3D world. But it's constantly undulating and changing.
Mm-hmm.
It's also moving backwards in time, oddly enough. So the way they communicate with it is very hard to conceptualize. But essentially, since it's omniscient, it just says things in advance. It basically has to say its own conversation in reverse order for these cylinders to actually hear it in the correct order.
Right.
And so they have a very high deal of esteem for this god ring. And they worship it. And that's why they're trying to build the cylinder actually in both directions. The people going into the horror sphere up away from the god ring are basically blasphemers who hate the god ring and feel like it's trying to destroy them. They blame the god sphere for it's them becoming more granular and disappearing as they go away from it. So they're trying to escape from it and hopefully find their own existence, I suppose, apart from it. Others are going down, down, and down the cylinder, and it gets harder and harder, and it takes longer and longer as they get thinner and thinner. Yeah, that's my world.
Wow. I mean, can I ask one question?
Yeah, please.
So, you said that they are sacrificing the lesser rings. What determines a lesser ring?
Material.
Oh.
Material, actually color. In this case, there's no like atoms, so it's not like silver or whatever, but it's color. Mm-hmm. So the lower ranking rings approach purple, and they consider this to be a sickly color. Those who are diseased or sickly get a tint of purple, and some are just born purple, and it's an unfortunate caste system, really.
Mm.
They judge them harshly, and they feel like those are the ones that they feel should be sacrificed. It's very unfortunate. Those who are considered the highest become closer and closer to gold. They become very shiny. So when they're very clean and healthy, they become shinier, and the ones who are yellow and shiny are the highest esteemed. They're considered to be royalty, essentially. Some of them have spoken to the god ring and come back, and that's how they know of the existence of the god ring.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Very cool.
Ring world.
Ring world. All right.
Well, that was fun. I'm glad you found an interest in my world. I'm glad I could describe it a little. We could get to know each other a little better.
Yeah.
But I'd like to get to know you better, Christian. So I'm very curious. What is your world?
Mm-hmm. Well, you see, Steven, my world is very much like the world you and I live in today, but with some key differences. Mm-hmm. For one, there is a society, there is a people, right? We are a society and people. But there's a fundamental difference within each person, and that is each person lives in a different time step, okay?
Oh.
So different scale or key, whatever, right? And, you know, you might be walking around, everything feels normal to you, but you're noticing some people are just walking in slow motion, and others are going by whipping fast. And this just creates a very interesting kind of situation where you can't communicate with everyone because some of them are just not on your wavelength. But for every person, there is an equal and opposite person who is on the exact same wavelength as you. And you can experience life at the exact same time step. And in this world, basically your goal is to find that person. And there are smart ways about doing this, and there are not smart ways about doing this. So the society is pretty chaotic and unorganized, and the fast people are whipping by, and the slow people are just moving along. The fast people can just go wherever they want, basically, and quickly, which kind of is the initiator of the chaos, because at one point in time, the world was organized in such a way that all the fast people were in one place and the slow people were in another, and there was a gradual change, and so you could easily communicate with those in your local areas, and you could move around a bit and communicate with them. But the fast people ruined this about a century ago, and they basically took over the whole world, and they're moving about, and the slow people are kind of the slowest of the slows are still together because they haven't been able to move away.
Colonialism.
Yeah, but the mid-range ones are kind of diffusing about. It's one of the laws of entropy in this world. But when you do find that special person, it's just, because your words are being heard perfectly. Because when you're talking to someone and they're talking faster or slower, or their body is twitching or moving slower, you just feel a disconnect. You're like, okay, I can communicate with you, but it's kind of hard. And so finding that person is just the most special experience ever. And it's what everyone in the world lives up to and wants to experience. In fact, the way that they found out kind of how this works, because there's only one person who lines up with you. They're actually both born at the same time. But this is another disconnect that is created in society, because your speed is not determined by your parents. It is not genetic at all, not hereditary. It's completely random. But two people born at the same time will have the same speed. There's an approximation in that time, but that's what creates this journey for everyone, that they need to find this person, and they need to grow up with parents who are at different time steps. In fact, there's a lot of adoption that happens because oftentimes parents are just like, I can't deal with this, I'm moving 1,000,000 miles an hour, or I'm moving too slow, and my kid's just like zooming around, growing up faster than I am. So, yeah, it just creates it creates a kind of like a blur where there are certain people and they're just like, they're there, they exist, they have lives too, but they're just kind of a blur. And then there's people who are just really focused, and you're in focus, and you're like, I can focus on you, you can focus on me, and we can love each other. And it's pretty beautiful. You can just focus on the people who matter most, and then everyone else doesn't matter. They just kind of fade away. And that is my world, Steven.
Wow. That was special.
I'm glad.
There's some emotions in there.
Yeah.
I liked it. Well, I like your world. Whatever world you're living in. I like it.
Beautiful.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was What's Your World?
That was.
And that was also our podcast.
That was the podcast. With a K.
That was it? With a K.
It just happened. Again.
It's gone. It went back. It's going way too fast. It's going way too fast.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not fast enough for this one.
We might need to find a different podcast.
Yeah, we're going to have to catch a podcast somewhere and use that one instead, I guess.
Oh, man.
Jeez, I hope there's like a matchmaking service.
Yeah.
There's different time steps. That'd be nice.
That would be nice. I imagine...
Does technology all move at the same pace?
It sure does.
Oh, well, that's useful.
It is useful, except that other people move faster or slower.
Yeah, but at least you can do matchmaking online.
But true. But imagine if you're slow and you refresh the internet, and all of a sudden there's just like 1 billion Instagram posts or whatever. You're like, no, I'm unfollowing all of them. No famous people who don't line up with me.
You're right. Oh my gosh. That's funny. They'd be like an r/0.4 hertz.
Yes.
r/7 hertz.
Yes. Beautiful.
Well, guys, thanks for hanging out with us.
Yes, thanks for hanging out. And existing.
I appreciate your existence.
Leave comments below about your existence, about our existence, about our
Existence.
existence, and existence in general.
And the existence of extraterrestrials and extra reality consciousnesses. Like, what was I thinking of? I don't remember. I had something in mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gone. No, yeah. Well, extra reality consciousnesses anyway. For some reason, my mind's stuck on that. I'd like to hear what you guys think.
Yeah.
Sure.
Could be related to the sphere or
The
rings.
Oh, the rings. Oh yeah, maybe the rings.
Yeah.
Maybe the rings.
Rings. Yeah.
Extra consciousness. Well, okay, that's gonna bug me. I'm gonna get some pizza. I just really feel like pizza right now.
Oh, dude, pizza would be great.
Seriously.
With mushrooms.
Come over and we could get pizza.
Dude, we could do that.
That'd be fun. It's too late.
All right. Podcast.
Okay. Podcast with a K has been completed with a K.
Been completed with a K. Oh yeah.
That's great. We should have an overlay for that.
Completed
with a K.
With a K.
That's
all right. Goodbye, internet friends. We'll see you next week.
Bye, friends and internet friends, and then the internet, and you Martians out there watching in the future, or in the past. I don't know all the technology you have.
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't, and maybe the hive mind. Yeah. Anyway, you Martians. Yeah. Give us thumbs up in the past.
Yes.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Appreciate you.
What is the Martian?
That?
Is this? Oh, that's the Martian one? I thought this was.
That's Alien.
Yeah.
Is there a Martian one?
Oh,
yo. I know what you're talking about.
Oh, it's like
Yeah, I think it's that, but you bend your thumb. That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Yes.
Adios, Rogue. Thanks for meeting with us.
Adios.
Goodbye, internet friends.